Hello and welcome to my channel. Today's video we are going to be making this little Dobby inspired character from Harry Potter. He is going to be mostly no-sew. His head, arms, body, and legs will all be one piece, but then we will have to sew on his little ears, nose, and if you want to add this little kind of eyebrow wrinkly piece. This will be a crochet along, so if you get lost or don't understand what I'm doing, there will be a 15-second little drop down of instructions for each row that you can always refer back to. If you want to also do any of the characters in the background, there will be links down in the description below. Some of them are two-parters, but I believe all of them you can at least finish the full body and the hair, and then there's a part 2 for the jacket and the scarf that'll go with all 3 of them, the same one. As well as anything else you see back here, there's a YouTube, but you will have to go visit my channel in order to find videos for that. Okay, so I think that's everything I need to let you know. So let's get started. To begin the arm, we are going to start with a knot with a loop on the end. Then you're going to grab your yarn, pull it through the loop, chain 1, and that's going to secure your yarn to the loop, but does not count as a stitch. For round 1, we are going to do 6 single crochets into the loop. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. Grab a stitch marker if you're using one. And for round 2, we are going to do 2 single crochets, 1 increase, and repeat that all the way around for a total of 8. So 1, 2, an increase, 3 and 4. 5, 6, and our increase 7 and 8, and that'll bring you right around back to your stitch marker. For rows 3 to 8, we are just going to do 8 single crochets all the way around. If you want to do it row by row, you can, but I'm going to count consecutively, so that's 6 rows. So 6 times 8 is 48, and I'm just going to count to 48 and flip my stitch marker every time I hit a set of 8. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, oopsie, 6, 7, 8, and I'm just going to keep on counting. Maybe 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, and 16. Flip your stitch marker if you're doing it how I'm doing it. 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, flip your stitch marker, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30, 31, 32, flip your stitch marker, 33, 34, 35, 36, 37, 38, 39, 40, flip your stitch marker, 41, 42, 43, 44, 45, 46, 47, and 48. And that should bring you all the way around your 6 rows of 8 single crochet. Now we're just going to put a little bit of stuffing in. And when you are making 2 arms, I like to just kind of make sure I have the same amount when I do the first arm, so I'm not guessing when I do the second arm. So just kind of feel like this one feels like it's got a little bit too much. Take a little off if you need. And then put that one aside. And then they'll just stuff this. Should be big enough for your finger, but if not, just use your hook or something similar and then just stuff it down inside. And then we're just going to close it up. And if you ever take your hook out, one way to make sure you have it in the right way is put it in and then just pull this string, and if it's on top, you have it in the right way. If you'd had it in like this, then you know you have your yarn twisted. And now all you're going to do is put 3 single crochets across the top. Make sure you go in both sides with the V's. So you've got 4 loops on your hook, where you're going through 4 loops. And then tighten that up and just start your 3 single crochets. So 1, 2, 3, making sure you're always going through both sides. And then you're just going to tie that off and leave yourself a little bit of a tail for later when we add the arms to the body. Now you're just going to make one more of these. I'm going to put a little screenshot at the end of in the next shot, and it will have a timestamp so you can go back to the beginning to do your second arm. If you're on your second arm, just keep on watching and we'll move on to the head. Okay, for the head, we are just going to make our knot with the loop on the end. Insert your hook, grab your yarn, make your chain 1, and that's just to attach the yarn. It does not count as a stitch, and we are going to put 6 single crochets into this loop. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. Grab your stitch marker if you're using one. And for round 2, we are going to do 6 increases all the way around, so that is 2 single crochets in every stitch. So increase 1 and 2, increase 3 and 4, increase 5 and 6, increase 7 and 8, increase 9 and 10, increase 11 and 12. And that should bring you all the way back around to your stitch marker. For round 3, we are going to do 1 single crochet, 1 increase, and repeat that all the way around for a total of 18. So 1, increase, 2 and 3, 4, increase 5 and 6, 7, increase 8 and 9, 10, increase 11 and 12, 13, increase 14 and 15, 16, and increase 17 and 18. Round 4, you're going to do 2 single crochets and 1 increase for a total of 24. So 1, 2, increase 3 and 4. Just repeat that around. 5, 6, increase 7 and 8. 9, 10, increase 11 and 12, 13, 14, and an increase 15 and 16, 17, 18, an increase 19 and 20, 21, 22, and our last increase 23 and 24. For round 5, we are going to do 3 single crochets 1 increase, repeat that all the way around for a total of 30. So 1, 2, 3, increase 4 and 5, 6, 7, 8, increase 9 and 10, 11, 12, 13, and your increase 14 and 15, 16, 17, 18, and your increase 19 and 20, 21, 22, 23, increase 24 and 25, 26, 27, 28, and increase 29 and 30. For row 6, we are going to do 4 single crochets, 1 increase all the way around for a total of 36. So 1, 2, 3, 4, increase 5 and 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, and our increase 11 and 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, and our increase 17 and 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, and our increase 23 and 24, 25, 26, sorry, 27, 28, and our increase 29 and 30, 31, 32, 33, 34, and our increase 35 and 36. For rows 7 to 12, we are just going to do 36 single crochets all the way around, and that is 6 rows. So you can do your 6 rows, rows 7 to 12, and then I will meet you back here for row 13 where we'll start decreasing. Okay, you should be done your 6 rows for rows 7 to 12 and ready to start row 13. And I'm just going to let you know if you're not sure and you need to double check. This is one really great reason to use your yarn, a piece of yarn as a stitch marker, because you can now go back and you can count every row, every stitch, if you need to, or you've made a mistake. So for rows, you go down to your circle with your loop. That's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, and 12. And always count on the back side because that's where the end of your row ended. Okay, so for row 13, we are going to do 4 single crochets, 1 decrease for a total of 30. So 1, 2, 3, 4, and decrease, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and decrease for 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, and decrease for 15. 16, 17, 18, 19, and decrease for 20. 21, 22, 23, 24, and decrease for 25. Oops, 26, 27, 28, 29, and decrease for 30. For row 14, we are going to do 3 single crochets, 1 decrease all the way around for a total of 24. So 1, 2, 3, and decrease for 4. 5, 6, 7, decrease for 8, 9, 10, 11, and decrease for 12, 13, 14, 15, decrease for 16, 17, 18, 19, and decrease for 20, 21, 22, 23, and decrease for 24. For row 15, we are going to do 2 single crochets, 1 decrease for a total of 18. So 1, 2, was it 2? And a decrease for 3. 4, 5, decrease for 6, 7, 8, decrease for 9, 10, 11, decrease for 12, 13, 14, decrease for 15, 16, 16, 17, and decrease for 18. Row 17, we're going to add the arms. Okay, so you're going to do 3 single crochets into your head. 1, 2, 3. Now grab one of your arms, and assuming this is the back, you want your strings facing the front, and you're just going to go through the first stitch on the arm and the next stitch on the body. So there's your last stitch, so you're going to go in there. And then you're just going to crochet, single crochet through both sides, the arm and the head. So that's 1. Now you're going to do that 2 more times, so you'll have 3 across the arm. 2 and 3. Now you are going to do 6 single crochets. So make sure that's your last stitch. So you're going into this stitch. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. Grab your other arm, and again, make sure your string is facing the front. So this is the back here where your stitch marker is. And you're going to do 3 single crochets through the arm and the body. 1, 2, and 3, and you should have 3 stitches left. 1, 2, and 3. For row 17, we are going to do 2 single crochets and an increase for a total of 24. So 1, 2, increase, 3 and 4. 5, 6, increase, 7 and 8. Make sure you don't go over those strings. 9, 10, and an increase, 11 and 12, 13, 14, and an increase, 15 and 16. Again, don't go over this string, you'll want them later. 17, 18, and an increase, 19 and 20, 21, 22, and your increase, 23 and 24. For rows 18 to 23, we are just going to do 24 single crochets all the way around. That'll be 6 rows of 24, and I will meet you back when you are done row 23. So you should have something that looks like this, and you are finished up to row 23. Before we go any further though, we are going to add some stuffing and put on some eyes. And you're going to want the head to be fairly firm. And then the body, not quite as much. Just be careful as you're stuffing that you're not stretching open these bottom stitches where you decreased. And it's a little tricky, so if you want to put it in the back and kind of let it come forward, that will help a little bit. This is going to be a base pattern, and I'm going to make different characters using this. My next one will be this. So for this one, I'll show you where I'm putting the eyes on, and then depending on what you're making, you can decide, but generally you want your eyes to be like kind of in the middles, like between here and here, so about here-ish somewhere. So these eyes I have on row 11, or between rows 10 and 11. I just kind of try and find my center. I'm going to try right there. And then you're just going to count down 10 rows. So this is your first row. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. And I happen to just put my needle in the right place, but I've decided this is center. You can use the 6 stitches across here to help you out. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, where you attached your arms. I'm kind of close. And I'm just going to go over 3 holes. So 1, 2, and 3. And then you just want to get that in there nice. Twist it if you need to, or use your needle to make a hole before you put the eye in. And then 3 across on this side. 1, 2, 3, and then into that 3rd hole. Oh, that one went in a lot nicer. Then you may have to pull your stuffing out to add your backs on, but that's okay because now you know you have them where you want them once they're stuffed. And then you're just going to click your backs on. Some of them are harder than others. There we go. Now put your stuffing back in, and this time you can put a little bit in the body. And remember, these posts are sticking out, so when you're stuffing it, try not to kind of twist them. Make sure they're kind of, what would it be, horizontally, still horizontal in your head, so they're not tipping one way or the other. I'm going to put a little bit in your body. Remember, not too much, because it will make doing the legs a little trickier, and you can always add a little more before you finish stuffing your legs. Okay, so that should be good. Okay, to do the legs, you want to find the middle of, I guess, where his belly would be. So just kind of eyeball it, and then look where your stitches are here. So to find the center, I've first made the sides even. So this will be the back side where these stitches are going, and then this will be the front side. So you're going to count starting at this stitch right here, 6 stitches over. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and that'll be the end of your first leg. So put your whatever you're using, your needle, into that 7th stitch, and now you're going to count around 12 stitches for the second leg. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. So you want to put your needle in that 12th stitch. And then we are just going to tie that off so we don't go into that leg at all when we are doing the first leg. And I'm just going to make a little bow so it's easy to undo when we start this side, and then just tuck it down inside there. Okay, so get your needle or your hook back in, and don't worry about where or how many stitches I have on one side or the other. As long as you have 12 stitches around each leg and they're fairly centered, we're going to be okay. So for me, I'm going to have 2 single crochets on this side, 1 and 2, and we don't go into this stitch because that's where we've marked off our second leg. Turn it around. We don't go into that stitch because that's where we've marked off our second leg, and we're going to go into this stitch right here. So this will be 3 for me. 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, and 12. So that was row 1. For rows 2 to 5, we are just going to do 12 single crochets around. So round 2, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, and 12. Round 3, another 12. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, and 12. Round 4, another 12. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, and 12. And I stopped counting my rows, but I believe this is row 5. Another 12. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, and 12. Okay, now we'll put a little bit of stuffing up in that leg. I think I got a little too much up there, but we're going to cinch that in, so. So you want the legs to be a tad on the firm side, but not overstuffed, because you're going to want him to stand. And also, oops, I think that's enough. You don't want it to be up above this line because we're going to decrease in the back loops. And you don't want this to be round. You want it to be nice and flat. So for row 6, we are going to go in the back loops. So if we normally go in through here, this is our front loop, this is our back loop, so we're going to go down in and grab that back loop. So 6 decreases. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6 will be our last one. If for some reason you don't have 6 and you're back at your stitch marker, don't worry about it. This will be on the bottom and you won't even see it. And then you're just going to slip stitch and tie that off. Leave a little bit of a tail so you can bring that up through inside and tie it again when you're done the second leg. I think I'm going to take that out. And you're just going to close it up. Cinch it tight. And then I'm going to give mine one little tie on the bottom. And then come down through the middle somewhere in your foot and then up through the back, fairly close, but not right here, but fairly close to the bottom. And then just give that a tug to make that nice and flat. For the second leg, you are just going to tie a knot with a loop at the end, but leave a fair amount of tail because you're going to use that to sew up this hole that's left once you're done your second leg. And then we're just going to attach. I'm going to attach in the next stitch from where I marked off the leg. If you attach over here somewhere, when you go to use this tail to sew up the center, you're going to end up pulling your leg over. So stay fairly close to right here. Oops. And you're just going to attach that yarn. Oh my goodness. My loop might be a tad big. Do one chain and then single crochet in that same stitch. So we're going to have a total of 12 single crochets all the way around for row 1. That's 1. So 2, 3, 4, 5, oops, 6, you might want to get that out of our way, 7, 8, 9, 10, and depending where you started, your next stitch will go right where that stitch marker is. For me, it's 11. And turn it around, and my 12th stitch will be going over here on the other side where my stitch marker is. Be careful not to go over that tail. I know it's a little awkward, but just take your time. Get it in that stitch and pull it tight and make your last single crochet of the row. So 12. Now we can get rid of this mess. And I'll use that as my new stitch marker. And you guys are just going to continue around rows 2 to 5. 2, 3, 4, 2, 3, 4, 5. So 4 more rows of 12 single crochets. Then your 6 decreases in the back loop. Tie it up. Bring it out the same stitch here. And then I will meet you back to take care of all these loose ends. And I'll also put a screenshot in the next shot of the pattern for the full second leg, starting at row 2. Okay, so you should have both legs finished and your ties up through the body. So all you're going to do is just pull them down and in so your feet are flat. And then just give it a fairly firm tie so they stay that way. Don't pull too tight. Because you should be this way so you can see him or her, whatever you're making. And we'll just hide those ends inside the body somewhere. And I'm just going to come up wherever. And then for this hole in the middle of his legs, what you're going to want to do is find the 2 stitches on each side And you're just going to go back and forth a couple of times, making sure you're over this stitch and in the other side, or you're just going to be going right back through where you were. And then pull that tight, and I'm going to do that one more time just to be sure I got it. And then just tie a knot somewhere close down in the middle. I'm going to grab that stitch right there. Now this is your last knot for this, so if you want to do it twice, do it twice. I think I'm okay doing it once. And then just string that up through somewhere, up high. I went a little too high. I didn't have enough string. Make sure you go in that same hole where so you can hide that knot. There we go. And then give it a tie so you don't see that knot anymore. And then for the arms, thread your needle, and you're going to go down in where you put your last stitch into the arm. So right in here, right where your knot is here, kind of into that hole at the edge of your arm, and come out through the back center somewhere. And do the same on the other arm. Right where that arm's ended. And then again, come back through the same. This one's important. You want to come back through the same one. And then you can just grab your strings and you can pull those arms kind of in. Hide the knot that was made. And then give them a nice tie in the back, fairly tight if you want them to stay like that, but not so tight that you scooch them in even more than you want. Okay, so we are going to begin with our knot with the loop on the end. If you do a magic circle, this may be the perfect time to use it so you can get a nice tight opening there so there's no hole. We are going to grab our yarn. Chain one, and remember this is only to attach our yarn. It does not count as a stitch. And we are going to do 4 single crochets into the loop. And I know this one's going to be tricky, but after we get the first two rows done, it'll get a little easier. So 1, 2, 3, and 4. And I'm not going to use a stitch marker because there's such a tiny little area here to work with. For row 2, we are going to do 3 single crochets and then 1 increase for a total of 5. So 1, and make sure you're going in the next stitch because it looks like you're going to go in this stitch, but that's actually where you just went, and your other stitch is way over here. Maybe give it a little tug. So that's 2, 3, and then your increase. 4 and 5. And make sure your piece is coming down here and not the other way, or you're going to end up with it inside out. Unless you don't mind it that way, and then you can just keep on going. For row 3, we are going to do 4 single crochets and an increase for a total of 6. So 1, 2, 3, and 4, and then our increase, 5 and 6. For round 4, we're going to do 2 single crochets and 1 increase for a total of 8. So 1, tail, 2, and an increase for 3 and 4. And then just repeat, 5, 6, and our increase, 7 and 8. And for round 5, we are just going to do 8 single crochets around. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8. And it looks like I didn't write down what I did for this little piece that goes up, but I believe it was 2 single crochets. It could have been 1, but we can always pull that through at the end. So then we are just going to tie that off. Leave yourself enough. You're going to have to sew around the nose. So make sure you leave yourself enough to do that. Okay, so again, the first 2 rows are going to be tricky, and then it will get a lot easier as we get going. Okay, so grab your yarn, do your chain 1 to attach that yarn, and now we're going to do 4 single crochets into the loop. So 1, 2, 3, and 4. For round 2, we are just going to do another 4 single crochets all the way around. And remember, make sure you're going in the right stitch. You're not going in the same stitch or skipping a stitch. So 1, 2, 3, and 4. This is just so we get that little point there. Now I am going to use a stitch marker at this point, just so I don't lose my spot when I'm counting or I stop to say something. So for round 3, we're going to do 4 increases all the way around for a total of 8 stitches. And make sure you're not going in the same stitch you just went in. You're going all the way over here. All right, 1 and 2 for an increase. Increase again. 3 and 4. Increase again. 5 and 6. And one more increase. 7 and 8. Flip your stitch marker if you are using one. For round 4, we are going to do 8 single crochets all the way around, and make sure you get down into that first stitch. One, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8. For round 5, you're going to do 1 single crochet and 1 increase for a total of 12. So 1 and your increase, 2 and 3, 4, and your increase, 5 and 6, oops, didn't get all that piece, 7, and your increase, 8 and 9, 10, and your increase, 11 and 12. For row 6, you're going to do 2 single crochets and 1 increase for a total of 16. So 1, 2, and your increase, 3 and 4, 5, 6, and your increase, 7 and 8, 9, 10, and your increase, 11 and 12, 13, 14, and your increase, 15 and 16. For row 7, you are going to do 8 decreases all the way around. So 1 decrease, 2 decreases, 3 decreases, 4 decreases, 5 decreases, 6 decreases, 7 decreases, and 8 decreases. For 8, you're just going to do 8 single crochets all the way around. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8. And then you can take your stitch marker out if you used one, and then just slip stitch right into that next stitch, tie off, and leave enough of a tail to stitch that onto the head. And you're going to make 2 of these. So in the next frame, I will put a timestamp to go back to the beginning of this ear. And if you're on your second ear, just keep on going to the next part. And then one last little piece. If you're adding the eyebrow or you want to make some wrinkles, leave a little bit of a tail and then do your knot with the loop on the end. And then we're just going to chain about 10. You can change this to however many you like. If you make it too long, you can just pull it inside of the head and that'll be okay. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, and then just let that tie off with your extra string. Probably too much, but I always say better to have extra instead of not enough. Okay, so you should have your body with the eyes in, 2 ears, the nose, and then the piece for the eyebrow. Okay, I'm just going to show you quickly how to pin these on. And then I'm probably going to let you sew everything together. And then we'll come back and probably shape his face. And then we'll do his little kind of sheet outfit covering thing. So I like to close mine up so that I make sure I go through both loops when I'm sewing it on. So just weave in and out of these 3 or 4 stitches that you have. And then I pinned mine starting on this bottom row along with the eyes. And just even with the arms here. So if I can get that in there. Okay, so there's 1, and then there are I had about 3 rows that I stitched it on. So it'll be this bottom row, middle row, and then this row up top. And you want to make sure that it's straight. And then do the same thing to the other side. I already have this one stitched up because I sewed it on too low already. And make sure wherever you ended up with your yarn on this side, you do the same on the other side. So I have mine on the top. So we'll make sure this one ends on the top. And back into the same row at the top of the eyes. And if you want to count the stitches, that's probably a good idea. So 1, 2, 3, 4, and then in the next. 1, 2, 3, 4, and then in the next. And you may move these around a bit as you get before you sew them on. Just double check. So 1, 2, 3. So we want it up in, whoops, up in that third row. And then just check that they're kind of even. And then when you sew them on, you're just going to go in and out of these 3 stitches. And I like to put 2 stitches on each end. And you're just going to go around like this under 1 stitch. And then we're going to take the little eyebrow. I don't know if these are eyebrows or wrinkles, but I'm going to call them eyebrows. And you just want to make sure they're nice and even. So it looks like it's going to go about 1 stitch past the eye. And then just pull that out the back. Hold on to this so you don't pull too much of your eyebrow through the hole. And grab your other side. And now you got to make sure they're even. So wherever you put it on this side, you want to match up. So I am about 1.5 stitches past my eye. So let's see, about 1.5 stitches past my eye. So I'm going to go into this hole right here. And then just give it a little pull to get rid of that knot there. There we go. Check that it's even. If it is, move it around a bit. And then for the nose, we are going to go centered between the eyes as best you can. Kind of, oh yeah, I put a little bit of stuffing in there, but I actually used some yarn, but I had my ends cut already. You can always move it after. So you might want to put something inside the nose. And I want the peak of the nose to be about where the eyes end. And then just pin down in the bottom, making sure you pull that stitch. You're down in these stitches down here, because that's where you're going to be going into. And then I'm just going to put 2 pins on each side, and that's not centered. Make sure it's centered. And just move it over so you have a little bit of space between the eye and the nose. And kind of the same on both sides. And then we're just going to take our tail on the end of the nose, and we're just going to wrap it around where you want the eyebrow to be, or if you didn't sew it down, you can go through the eyebrow. I think I am going to go through the eyebrow and then come back up right on that piece of the nose. We can get rid of that pin once we do that. And you're going to want to pull all of that in and through. And then you'll start stitching it down. we need to get that knot through here. There we go. And then down and out. So then you're just going to stitch down and around both sides. I think I'm going to put more pins in because it seems like it wants to move a bit. And when you're sewing this down, you want to stay underneath the nose with your stitches. So you will go down and over. If you need to come out before you go up through your next stitch, do that. Just make sure you are staying under the nose so that you don't see your stitches. And then just go down the next stitch, making sure all the time that you are staying fairly centered on your face and that you're catching the head underneath. Okay, I'm going to let you guys sew all that on. Go grab a coffee and relax and take your time. And then I will meet up back with you to do the next part. Okay, now we're just gonna sculpt his face a little bit so his eyes come down a bit and over and his neck kind of comes in a bit. So find the 6 stitches between your arms when you added your arms. So there'll be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And I'm just gonna go over 1 stitch from the arm. And I'm going to come up on the inside of the eye, just a little bit underneath of it. And you're going to leave quite a bit of yarn here because you're going to want to wrap that around the neck after. Then you're going to go over to the outside of the eye. And don't pull this tight yet. And then you're going to do the opposite on that side. So you're going to go to the outside of the eye, leaving a little bit here, and then you're going to go onto the inside of the eye. And then you're going to go down wherever you went on this side, you're going to match that on the other side. So I'd gone 1 stitch over, so I'm just going to come out that side, hold on to your string, and then just kind of see that your ends are kind of the same amount. And then once you're happy with that, just give them a little bit of a tug. And since I've only gone in once, I'm going to kind of just hold my eyes where I want them. And then just give them a pull. You can go back and forth a couple of times when you're up here. But I'm happy with the look. Doing it this way. And then you're just going to weave your ends all the way around to the back center. Make sure you don't go into this thread at any point or you're going to have a problem cinching it up. So you're just weaving in and out just above where you attached the arms in a nice straight line until you get to the center back. And then you're going to go grab your other piece and you're going to go the opposite way. Again, making sure you don't go into this piece of yarn or you will not be able to pull it tight. And hopefully you end up in the center. If not, skip 1 stitch so you're coming out the same hole as you just went through. And you're going to tie that once loosely, making sure, so see this side, this piece is going this way, and this piece is going this way. So you want to keep one of these pieces, however you tie, a good hold so it still goes that way. So I'm going to wrap this way and then pull, and see, I never let go of this piece. I know it's going the right way. And then if you want to turn it around and just watch as you pull those tight, you're going to suck that neck in a bit. However tight you want it, but be careful not to break your strings. And then you're just going to tie it a couple of times, keeping it tight so you don't lose that tension around the neck. And then just hide these ends down in somewhere. Making sure you're not just hidden. And there you go. Now he's ready for some clothes. So I had a really hard time deciding what color the rags that Dobby was wearing were. So I actually watched every single movie from beginning to end just to find him in there. Not that it was a chore, I kind of enjoyed them. But I could not decide if it was like a beige, a light yellow, a light green. So I decided to go with this Sage Mist. It's from Bernat. And I think if you go anywhere between like a beige to a light pale green yellowy color, you're okay. So to begin, leave a bit of a tail. I'm going to use that for sewing it together later. And we're going to make our knot with our loop on the end. And we are going to chain 16. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, and 16. For round 1, starting in the second chain from the hook, so this is your first chain and this is your second chain, we are going to do 10 half double crochets. So if you're not used to a half double crochet, you're going to go yarn over into your stitch, grab a loop, and you're going to have 3 loops on your hook, and then you're just going to pull through all 3 loops. So we're going to do 10 of those. So that was 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Make sure your chain isn't twisting. 7, 8, 9, and 10. And then you're going to chain 1 and turn. For round 2, you're going to do 2 half double crochets, 1 increase, 4 half double crochets, 1 increase, and 2 half double crochets. So starting in this stitch right here, so that's your chain 1, and there's your first stitch, 2 half double crochets. So 1 and 2, and then you're going to increase, so 2 half double crochets in the same stitch, 1 and 2. Then you're going to do 4 half double crochets, 1, 2, 3, and 4. And you're going to increase, so 2 half double crochets in the same stitch. 1 and 2. And then 2 single crochets. So 1 and 2, and make sure you get through both sides of the V on that last stitch. And chain 1 and turn. Now from rows 3 to 6, you're going to do 12 half double crochets across. So row 3, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, and 12, making sure you get through both sides there of your V. And that's 12, so chain 1 and turn. Row 4, 12 across. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Whoops, I went through wrong. 11 and 12. Chain 1 and turn. So this should be row 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, excuse me, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, and 12. And one more row. I'll chain 1 and turn. So we have one more row. Row 6, 12 across. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, and 12. Now you're going to tie that off, and then you're going to make one exactly the same. And then I'll show you how we're going to put them together. All right, so you want to decide which side is side you want on the outside and what side you want on the inside. And I think, I don't know, do this side. I don't think it really matters. For the bottom, you are just gonna sew close, and I'm gonna do it inside out. Not that it matters which way we go. I'm just gonna go up and down the side for about 3 or so rows, remembering that his sides are open, so you're not gonna go all the way up to the top anyways. So however you want to do it, weave in and out, go around and around. So I'm just going to go 3 stitches up, and then I'm going to come back down a couple times. And then I'm going to open it up, and I'm going to kind of hide my ends. Before you do too much, make sure when they're together, just in case, since I didn't mention it, a mistake could happen. Make sure you have 1 chain on this side and 1 chain on this side. Okay. I'm just going to end here. You guys can do a better job if you feel like you need to. And then we'll do the same thing on the other side. And remember, these are regs, so it doesn't have to be perfect. Just go in and out a couple of times up, and then a couple of times going down for about 3 rows. I can't remember if I tied that. I always tie off before I weave in, but I'm going to tie off now. And then we're just going to weave. I went on that side, so I'm going to go on this side. Weave your ends in a couple of times. I'm sorry, I wasn't watching to see if this was in the camera, so hopefully I was in. Because that's very annoying to watch, someone trying to tell you how to do something and they're just barely, you can just barely see what they're doing, or not at all. All right, cut that off. And now we're going to take our, inside out for what I want. Okay, and then we're just going to thread this on. You're just going to come in one of your first stitches here, and you're just going to tie a knot there or something. Maybe I should have left that on. Yeah. Just basically want that attached, and then tie a knot to secure it. And then you're going to weave that down somewhere inside. other side. We're almost done, so I'm just going to remind everybody that if you enjoy my videos, make sure you hit the subscribe button, because you will be notified every time I load a new video up. You can also leave a like or a comment and let me know what you thought of the videos. I do take some requests, but I'm very behind, but I do write them down. Just can't guarantee if they'll be made, you know, next video or a year from now. Also, I have a Facebook page, craft page. I will put the link down in the description, and you can go there and you can post a video, or not a video, sorry, I'm on Video Mind. Post a photo in the comments of the YouTube post I have pinned to the top of that page, and then I will eventually see it. Okay, so let's put this on him. I don't know if it matters what's front or back, shouldn't. And one last little touch. Take one of your ends that you cut off, and you're just going to thread it into one of these chains. I noticed the tie was on this side in the movies, so that's where I'm putting it, and you never really saw a tie on the other side. So I'm just going to tie this piece on, and then I am going to just cut it fairly short. So it kind of flares out like he's got a sheet or something tied on him. And there you go. Thanks for watching. I hope you guys have a great day. Stay safe and happy crocheting.